I was recently very moved by a song from the film A Star is Born. It's sung by Bradley Cooper and it's called Maybe It's Time. And the line that moved me the most was, maybe it's time to let the old ways die. I'm Barry Kibrick. We'll explore this concept and how it may just lead to a very fulfilling life.
Between the Lines with Barry Kibrick is made possible in part by Patreon. Patreon helps creators build and run membership businesses, from podcasters to writers, musicians, artists, and more, with tools that allow their fans to become patrons. More information is available at patreon.com. And Between the Lines with Barry Kibrick is also made possible by the following contributors. A complete list of funders is available at barrykibrick.com.
You know, I said I was inspired by that song by Bradley Cooper, and I want to tell you why that really hit me at the time. It was because I was going through a crisis. I actually felt that from the work I was doing, not the work that I do here, but the work that I do to support doing the work that I do here, it was really draining on my soul. And when I heard those words, let the old ways die, I realized that is what I needed to do. I needed to let the way I've been doing things die. Now, I discussed once with you about change, but change is very different than letting something die. Because when you let something die, like the phoenix, out of those ashes, there is rebirth. Change doesn't necessarily give you rebirth. It sometimes makes a little bit of an adjustment. You can change a lot of different things, but it doesn't give you that chance to literally have a new beginning. And that is exactly what I needed. And I can't help but feel, if I know that I need that, you might need that as well. So I want to delve as deep as we can into this subject and see together if we can really see why and how this is an important concept and a way to live a very fulfilling life. Now, there's a part of it that sounds so serious, yet I can't help but think someone actually covered this before, and it was George Costanza on the show Seinfeld, the character George, and I wonder if anyone remembers this. He decided he was going to do the opposite. And when he did the opposite of everything he normally did, his life changed. Now, that's the humorous side of things. And it really is not such a serious thing when you think of letting something that's burdening you die, because it's a chance not only to be reborn internally, but to even affect those people around you. Now, one of the great truths in life is that you're really only going to get in your own way. So this is, again, a way to get out of your way. And what makes it so intriguing to me is from Socrates to Einstein. They knew, and Socrates coined the term, that nature abhors a void. It hates a vacuum. So when you lead this thing, when you let it go, you don't have to really fear that something else won't immediately take its place. Now, in physics, there's not really a moral judgment of what takes the place of a void. But we know there is really, in physics and in life, no voids whatsoever. We think sometimes that there is an electron spinning around a neutron, and therefore there's nothing between it. But we know now, and this goes back to from Newton to Einstein, there is something between it, because there can't be emptiness. So when you let the thing that's bothering you die, it actually makes changing your life easier because you don't have the burden of carrying it on. And one of the big barriers to doing it is fear. Of course, fear always plays into the barriers because that's our most primal instinct. We fear that if we let something go that we've held on to for so long, we're going to lose a piece of ourselves. But it's just the opposite. When you let it go, a new piece falls into place. You're not losing yourself. You're actually gaining something and adding something to yourself. And nothing could really feel much better than that, because I postulate this. I know that, as I said, there's no morals in physics, but I firmly believe that when you let the old way die, what fills its place is better. Just that's my opinion, that's what I think, and I believe it with all my heart. And I also believe that this can happen at any age. You can reinvent yourself you don't have to actually if you're under 13, trust me about that. Just inventing at that point is good enough. But at any point as an adult, you can do this. This is not age related. And in fact, the older you get, the more important it is that you do it. You make room for the new things that you never even thought of exploring. Now the catch is, though, you must go at your own pace. That is very important, because if you don't move at a pace you feel comfortable, as this is taking place, you may get a very awkward feeling. But I wouldn't be concerned about that, because we go back to nature, it's going to fill up no matter what you do. You almost, I'll state it point blank, do nothing even, and it will fill you up the right way you need to be. You just need to never give up. Know that it is coming. If you don't, that's when the change won't happen. That's when the nerves will set in. That's when the trouble might sneak through. But I bet you any amount of money, it won't. It just won't. Because what it's going to do is it's going to make room for the one thing I bet you haven't had yet. And that is the passion that you've been yearning for. That's what happened to me. I had a passion and I couldn't get out of the way to fulfill it. Now, passion has a double edge to it. It's a double-edged sword. There's no doubt that passion, as in the term passion of the Christ, is a struggle. It's painful. It's very, very hard. But yet, at the same time, there is a flip side to passion, and that is love. And the love that you have for something, when you make room for that love, it fills you up in a way that is unbelievable. When I finally was able to let that thing go that was gnawing at my soul, it literally made me feel like I'll go back and use that term. I was born. I had a rebirth. It was very fulfilling. And some of the best opportunities that opened up were amazing, because I couldn't discover them since they were stifled by my not bringing passion to the forefront of what I needed to do. I was burying it. Now, some of it we have to do. I had to do some of it because I had to earn a living. I had to make enough to keep this show going. I had to do certain things that were really what I'll call on some level, a bit soul-destroying. But this set me free, and I know it will do the same for you. Now, it requires a leap of faith. There is no doubt about it. But I can't think of anything better to leap than faith, because there's a certain security that you have when you have faith. So taking the leap with that in mind is not as risky as you might think. And I'm going to use a quote from one of the great guests that I've had the privilege of meeting. His name is John O'Donohue, and he says this: "Beginnings often frighten us because they seem like lonely voyages into the unknown. Yet in truth, no beginning is empty and no beginning is isolated." And risk in itself may be your great ally. You can't tell until you take it. And there's also a certain amount of innocence that is brought out when you are really able to relax about it. There's a freshness that comes to the fore, and it is something, I've got to tell you, even though I still go into certain valleys and still get certain times depressed or anxious, it's been such an improvement since I've made this decision. So thank you, Bradley, for that lovely song, because it really helped me out. But two things that can keep you back. Sometimes you really do need to prepare. You really must prepare for when you do decide to let what's gnawing at your soul die, to have something to jump into. As I said, nature will jump into it no matter what. But most people feel they need to still prepare. Yet, by doing so, sometimes we postpone that leap. And I'm telling you, if you take that risk, if you take that leap, that is when the new beginning begins. So if you do feel you have to prepare a little bit, by all means do so. But don't believe that it's necessary. Because when the heart is ready for a fresh new beginning, unforeseen things will emerge, and they will emerge faster than you ever had them emerge before. It is really an experience, I'm telling you, you're going to truly enjoy. Now, there's another song I want to bring in here. It's by George Ezra, and he says in his song Budapest, "Give me one good reason why I should never make a change." And there really isn't a reason you can give, because change is happening anyway. But as I said, it's difficult when you're holding on. When you let the old things die, the change will just flow. And you have to also love your ego at this time. Now, Lord knows I have an ego big enough to fill this chair right now and talk to you this way. But the truth is, when you have a big ego, you oftentimes also are left with a lot of depression and anxiety because you have a lot of failed expectations. I'm telling you now, even if you have those failed expectations, go forth. Just keep going forth. You don't have to even fulfill those expectations, because guess what? You let the biggest one die. This is very different than change. Remember that. It's really starting anew. I'm going to repeat that a few times, but it's important, because without that new start, the true fulfillment that you can get in life just cannot happen. Now, I'm going to read a little something again that I actually wrote, but I didn't want to forget it, so I wrote it down. And it's just not remaking yourself. It's not just seeing yourself in a different light. It is being a different light. That is what you feel, not in your mind, but what you feel in your gut. That is a gut feeling that is unbelievable. It is one that really will resound with you because it's not just in your head. Now, there is this sense, again, of fear that'll come in. Will I be a different person? Well, you will hopefully make some differences, but you will not be a different person. Who you are will always be who you are. That will never change. That's a fear you can totally do away with. You don't have to think about it. Don't even let it enter your mind. But changes will occur in your personality. I think of the Leonard Cohen song. I know I've used it on the show before when it's important sometimes to really act like the way you want to be. And as Leonard says, soon you will become the way you act. The key, however, is always to find the ease within the effort. That's the hardest part, because don't think that effort isn't involved. There is a lot of effort when you are going to be reborn. I remember, again, John O'Donohue talking about death and birth, and he actually said death and birth are virtually the exact same thing. And he makes you think about it a bit. He says, you know, you're in the womb, you've been there for 9 months, that's the only thing you know. All of a sudden you are pulled out into this other zone. We call it the present, but who knows what you're thinking at that time in the womb. And he relates the same thing to death. When we get pulled out of the existence we are in now and then find ourselves in that new zone. So that's why I go back to it being important to let that old way die, because there's no room otherwise for you to reach that full potential and be born anew. The key, though, again, and I'm going to tell you this, I can say it as often as I want, find the ease within the effort, yet I have to be honest, I cannot do that. I do my best, I do everything I can, but it is one of those things that are just easier to say than to do. But it's something that if you think of, I actually use it as a mantra in the morning to find the ease within the effort. You will be surprised at, by just searching for that journey, it will come about. And I want to read something else that I wrote, but I wanted to make sure I got it to you. You do not have to do anything. You just have to not do what you have been doing. So if you let the void be a void, it will naturally fill up with something else, as I said before. But the catch is that this time it will fill up with what your passion has been yearning for you to do. You can't escape it. And if nothing else, the thing that I had was I felt finally liberated. I finally felt freer. And I needed it. My soul needed it. And if you're watching this, most likely your soul needs it as well. There's a song again I like to bring up. It's called Here's to My Future, Goodbye to Yesterday. And it's by the Imagine Dragons. And there's something refreshing, and it parallels the other songs as well. There's no fear in this. Say goodbye to yesterday. That's when you will open up to the future. Musicians have such a way of utilizing their poetic words. I can't help but steal from them and share it with you. But this goes way back into history. From the very morals of the phoenix rising, remember that that phoenix, it rose out of the ashes of what had to die. It was able to be born anew, refreshed, and given a sense of freedom, a sense of flight. I wish it didn't have to be that way. I wish we could just flip a switch and start anew, but we can't. It's just not in our cards, it's not in our nature, it's not in our history, it's not in the stories we tell, it's just not there. We have to go and let it go. And I want to start with these words too, because I think these are important. It's way better to be wrong while saying I can than being right while saying I can't. We are so afraid to do things. We are so afraid that if we don't rehearse and practice enough, that it's not going to be perfect. That perfection is a deadly combination. You have got to ease off on trying to know that it's going to work. You have to be able to be free with the fact that it may fail, that the change you may be experiencing may not be what it is that you even were hoping for. But there's nothing wrong with that. It's the way it is for eons and the way it will always be. Evolution is based on those types of mistakes. We wouldn't be where we would be if mistakes didn't happen. We are just simply mutations. So we might as well mutate ourselves and let the old way die. So I'll repeat myself. It's way better to be wrong while saying I can than being right while saying I can't. Now, I do not have all the answers, nor do I even have all the questions, just the thoughts. And I want to hear your thoughts on this. It's the way we will dig deeper into understanding our world and our role in it. And there are ways you can do it. You can just check out my website at barrykibrick.com, or if it's something very personal you want to address to me, you can do it at my email, barry@barrykibrick.com. But I'm also going to, since I ran out of time, turn this into a podcast. Just look up my name on your podcast provider and you'll be able to tune in. And again, if you go to my website and you'd like a transcript of this, it'll be there for you. But till we meet again, I'm Barry Kibrick, and remember, nothing remains as it was. If you know this, you can begin again with pure joy in the uprooting of it all. Till next time.
To become part of the Between the Lines family, go to barrykibrick.com. There you can join our book club, participate in Q&As, catch past episodes, listen to Barry's podcasts, read his blog, and experience exclusive online features, all at barrykibrick.com. Between the Lines with Barry Kibrick is made possible in part by Patreon. Patreon helps creators build and run membership businesses, from podcasters to writers, musicians, artists, and more, with tools that allow their fans to become patrons. More information is available at patreon.com. And Between the Lines with Barry Kibrick is also made possible by the following contributors. A complete list of funders is available at barrykibrick.com.
Peace of mind, who doesn't want to achieve it? Yet the truth is, even if you're one of the ultimate gurus, you'll realize it's not that possible nor even that desirable. But knowing that in itself may actually be the key to achieving at least a close proximity. And that's what we'll explore on the next Between the Lines.